Welcome to another video from the Heart Factory. In today's video, we'll talk about the occlusion test. Now, occlusion test is an important test that's done with the tubings prior to putting the patient on cardiopulmonary bypass using the heart-lung machine. Now, this video will talk everything about the occlusion test, the ways to do the occlusion test, the problems you can come across with the occlusion test, what if the occlusion is light and what if the occlusion is too hard. So let's get started without wasting much time. At the end of this video, you'll find a short interview with our Chief Perfusion Technologist, Mr. Janardhan, who is talking in detail about the occlusion test, and the interested audience may please refer to that video for greater details. Now, the occlusion test applies to all the type of tubings, be it quarter-inch, half, 3/8, etc. The principle remains the same. Now, as you can see here, the lines are taken and primed and the roller is moving, but you don't find any flow in the arterial cannula. So this is a demo and this is what happens in real life, I guess. Now, as the perfusion technologist is hardening the roller, you will find some flow happening in the arterial cannula, but the line is falling back. Now, this is clearly a light occlusion. Now, as he tightens the roller more, you find the flow is more steady upstream the cannula, but this can also be an hard occlusion, that is too much of an occlusion. So this can't be determined at this stage by looking at the flow. So this has to be determined prior to putting the patient on bypass. Now, as you can see here, the tubes are crushed by the roller heads. As the perfusion technologist is loosening the roller head, you will find the heads of the roller from moving away from the tubing, thereby allowing the tubing to be released from the raceway. So adjusting this roller heads to the extent that there is no damage to the blood products, there is good forward flow, is what is occlusion. And there are various methods like described here. The first one is the meniscus fall method, wherein you will be priming the circuit first and then clamping the outflow line beyond the side arm, which is also primed, to around 30 to 40 inches from the roller head level. Now, once the side arm is primed to 30 to 40 inches, which actually corresponds to the height of the operating table on which the patient is lying, the rollers are stopped and then pump head is adjusted to the extent that the meniscus should fall at 1 to 1.5 centimeters per minute. This is what is required and this is called the medium occlusion. If the fall is more than 1.5 centimeters per minute, it is called light occlusion. And if the fall is less than 1 centimeters per minute, it is called hard occlusion. Now, both light occlusion and hard occlusion are not good for the patient because in light occlusion, there is no adequate forward flow whilst on bypass. The pump display does not correspond to the actual flows. Whereas in hard occlusion, there is greater hemolysis, more destruction of platelets, more destruction of WBCs, and greater wear and tear of the PVC tubing, leading to spallation injury with deposition of plastic emboli in the oxygenator or in the patient. Now, if the occlusion does not fall at all, that means it's too hard. The occlusion is too tight, the line is not falling. That means the RBCs will be subjected to greater damage by the roller head within the tubing. Now, what happens if there is light occlusion? First thing is, there will be backflow or the patient will get exsanguinated through the arterial line, vent and cardioplegia when the pump is turned off and if you fail to clamp all the three lines. Ideally, one is not required to clamp any of the tubes whilst off bypass if you have a good occlusion. As you can see here, the whole body volume will be exsanguinated if you have a light occlusion. If you have a light occlusion, if you clamp the tubing after bypass, it's fine, but it is not at all desirable because even the forward flow would not have been adequate. Now coming to the dynamic flow method, here the line is again primed, but you need a special arteriovenous loop with a one-way valve which you can get from the ABP machine. Now what actually happens here is, after priming the circuit and clamping the outflow line, you will run the roller pump at 5 to 8 revolutions per minute to generate the pressure. Now at 5 to 8 revolutions per minute, the pressure should be at least 250 to 350 millimeters of mercury in the pressure gauge. If it is more than 350 millimeters per mercury, then it is high occlusion. If it is less than 250 millimeters of mercury, it is low occlusion. As you can see here, the occlusion is reaching around 350. So this is medium occlusion, or the occlusion what we want. Now if you under occlude, the pressure gauge does not reach 250 mmHg. So this is light occlusion, which is not good for the patient, because even if the monitor shows a flow of 4 liters, you are actually delivering 3 liters. And if you over occlude, you will find the pressure gauge showing a pressure of more than 400 millimeters of mercury, which in other words means greater hemolysis and greater wear and tear of the tubing. Mind you, all of this is happening at a revolution of 5 to 8 per minute. Now the third method is called the pressure fall method. Now here, there is no need for an arteriovenous loop, but you need a pressure line, and there is no work for the side arm as well. What one has to do is, slowly the rollers are moved to build in a pressure of around 300 to 350 millimeters of mercury, and then watched for fall of pressure. If the fall of pressure is more than 20 millimeters of mercury in 1 minute, that means it's light occlusion. If the fall is less than 20 millimeters of mercury at the end of 1 minute, that means it's very high occlusion. And if the fall is around 20 millimeters of mercury within 1 minute, it means it's medium occlusion, and that is what we are looking forward to. Just to recap, light occlusion means there is no adequate forward flow, and you will be exsanguinating the patient once off bypass if the tubes are not clamped. Hard occlusion means greater wear and tear of our tubing, greater destruction of RBCs, platelets and WBCs. So no fall, no occlusion. Now coming to the occlusion of the quarter-inch tubing, the principle applies the same way as to the main pump head. Prime the circuit, clamp the outflow line, prime the side arm to around 30 to 40 inches from the roller head level, because that corresponds to the height of the operating table and at which height the patient is lying. And then watch for the meniscus fall. And the same rule applies here. Fall of 1 to 1.5 centimeters per minute is normal. More than 1.5 centimeters is light occlusion, and less than 1 centimeter fall is high occlusion. There is one more method of checking the occlusion of the quarter-inch tubing by uploading or by clamping the inflow tube. No need to prime the tubing here. Clamp the inflow line and just keep on increasing the occlusion of the roller tubing to the extent that the roller tubing collapses within the raceway. At this stage, you may also hear a smacking sound, which corresponds to the occlusion that is needed. This is done very rarely, just in case to confirm if you have a doubt by doing the meniscus fall method. The third and the rough way is, after having passed the line from the operating table, ask the nursing staff to dip the sucker or the vent in saline and gently increase the occlusion. If the line is not fouling back and if there is good sucking of saline in the tubing, that actually corresponds to good occlusion. So this is a rough method. Finally, to recap, ladies and gentlemen, there is meniscus method, dynamic flow method, and the pressure fall method, and the various parameters one has to keep in mind with regards to light, medium, and high occlusion. Mind you, occlusion is done in 3 different directions: the 8 o'clock, 2 o'clock axis, 7 o'clock, 1 o'clock axis, and the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock axis. And the hardest reading of the 3 is taken for clinical purposes. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to ring the bell just to be notified of my next video in time. I would really appreciate if you can leave some constructive comments for all of us to learn. Also keep watching this space for the next video that will appear sometime next week, and we'll be detailing about the uses and advantages of the reservoir, the oxygenator, and the cardioplegia chamber, which will be a continuation of our heart-lung series. Thanks for watching. Thank you.